Okay, welcome back everyone. Today we're going to be making a dish with one of my favorite flavor profiles in the world. It's known as ma la, which in Chinese means spicy and mouth numbing. The spicy element will come from chili peppers and the numbing will come from Sichuan peppercorns. This flavor profile comes from the Sichuan province of China, and the dish is known as Mapo Tofu. Usually the dish is made with ground pork, but today we're going to be making a vegan version using mushrooms, which I promise will have just as much flavor and be much more healthy than the original. Okay, just gonna go over the ingredients super quick. We've got our tofu, our mushrooms, which we'll be using in place of ground pork. This is a vegan recipe, but if we caramelize the mushrooms, we'll get a lot of flavor and umami out of them. And ground pork's also just not that good for you, so we're being healthy today. The aromatics will be provided by garlic, ginger, dried red chilies, and fresh Thai bird chilies, as well as white pepper powder and Sichuan peppercorns, which we're going to grind and add to the dish. If you've never had them before, they add a citrusy floral note to the dish, but they have a strange numbing effect on your mouth, which isn't really like anything else I could describe. And then for the sauce, most of the flavor will be added from, this is Sichuan Picton Dobajang, and its ingredients are chili, broad bean, salt, and wheat flour, which are fermented, and it adds a great depth of flavor to the dish. I'll also be adding this black bean garlic paste. It's just optional, but I just really like the black bean flavor in this dish. We'll add cooking wine, sesame oil, and since this is a vegan dish, I got some broth that is not chicken flavored, and we'll be using cornstarch to thicken it up.
Please like and subscribe to Super Ninja.
Ben, I said at the end of the video.
Anyways, moving on, the next step in this process is you're going to want to prep all your aromatics. So peel and finally chop the garlic. It's pretty fast, dude. Gonna want to chop up your Thai bird chilies next, and then moving on to the ginger. Didn't need all of what I had, but we're gonna take the skin off, chop it into strips, and julienne it, and turn it into a fine dice, just like the garlic. When cutting the tofu for your Mapo Tofu dish, I think it's important to note that you'll want to cut the tofu into bigger chunks than you intend to have in the final dish, because you can always break it apart into smaller pieces, but you can't make it bigger. As for the mushrooms, you kind of just want to do a rough chop on them, as you'll be trying to simulate the texture of ground meat. If they're too small, it's not a big deal. If they're bigger, it's not a big deal. Just kind of chop them however you want. I just go for a rough chop. Some big, some small. But overall, it doesn't really make a difference. Next up, we're gonna crush our Sichuan peppercorns at a hilariously sped up speed. And these, again, will be adding the numbing floral component to our Mapo Tofu.
And there we have all of our prep work done. The tofu's cubed up. We have our ground up Sichuan peppercorns. Our garlic, ginger, and Thai bird chilies are chopped up. We're keeping the dried ones whole because I just kind of like eating them whole. You can chop them up if you like. And our mushrooms are chopped up coarsely. Okay, so my oil is nice and hot. I'm gonna add my garlic, ginger, chilies, and mushrooms, and I just wanna brown everything nicely to start off the flavor development for the Mapo Tofu.
Okay, it's been about 10 minutes on medium-high heat, and the mushrooms, garlic, ginger, and chilies have browned nicely. I'm gonna go about 2 more minutes and caramelize it a little bit more before I start adding the other ingredients for the sauce. Alright, so I opened the package of the broad bean paste, and it looks something like this in a vacuum seal bag. I'm not sure what it says, but 1688, that's definitely a good year for doubijiang. So this dish is gonna be good already, I know it. Okay, so I fully caramelized the mushrooms as well as the aromatics. I added 3 heaping tablespoons of the broad bean paste. I'm going to deglaze it with about 100 milliliters of the cooking wine. And I just want to say that this recipe will probably make enough for about 6 people. I've reduced the heat to medium heat, and I'm trying to caramelize the broad bean paste. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of the black bean garlic paste, so it's about 3 to 1. Then I'm going to deglaze it with the cooking wine, maybe 100 milliliters, and then add the chicken stock. Use the old one-handed technique. Alright, maybe 2 hands. Just like that, you can open a can of not chicken broth. Alright, the next step is going to be adding the white pepper and the Sichuan pepper. I'm going to add about maybe a half teaspoon of white pepper and 3/4 of maybe a full teaspoon of Sichuan peppercorns to start, see how spicy it is. See, that didn't look like too much, so I'm going to add a little bit more, maybe 2 teaspoons. And I tasted it. I'm going to add a little bit of Chinese black vinegar. This isn't in the actual recipe. I just like the profile flavors of hot and sour. Maybe 1 tablespoon. Okay, so I actually doubled the amount of white pepper and Sichuan peppercorns that I added, just because I didn't think it was a strong enough flavor. But if you're making it at home, just add whatever you like. The last step is to add the cornstarch slurry to thicken it, and then we'll add the tofu and cover it up and heat it all. Keeping in mind, cornstarch will only activate when it's at a boil. Looks like a thick, rich sauce. Exactly what we're looking for. Okay, I'm gonna add our tofu. And we don't want to stir it anymore because I don't really want to break up the tofu chunks. But we'll put a lid on it and heat everything up. And that's it. Usually I say there's no rules in the kitchen, but Mapo Tofu has to be accompanied by steamed white rice. And then I always garnish mine with a little bit of sesame oil. And bias cut green onions are the best garnish for me. And that's it. And there you have it, my vegan-ish version of Mapo Tofu. I promise you won't miss the ground pork at all. The caramelized mushrooms and aromatics more than make up for the flavor that the ground pork adds without any of the anti-health benefits. It's such a comforting dish, and you know, one day I'm gonna get these camera angles right, but for today, again, I'm just gonna look like the hunchback. Anyways, you should really try this at home. It's delicious, and it's going to be great in the wintertime. It'll heat you up. It has the mala flavor, which is both spicy and mouth-numbing, which I think everyone can learn to enjoy. And I'll see you on the next video. Forgot to show the crucial part of me enjoying the dish. So what you want to do is add your Mapo tofu onto the rice. Extra saucy, of course. And just enjoy it. Yep, that's just about everything I hope for. Spicy, nummy, lots of umami flavor. Anyways,
Ben, do you have any words you'd like to say?
Please like and subscribe to Super Ninja.
Pretty good, Ben, but let's show them how it's really done, Steph.
Go. Like and subscribe to Soup Ninja.